Hello and welcome to another episode of the Average Joe Football Show. I'm your host, Joe Fair. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of your next door neighbor's favorite football podcast.
Wow.
Yeah, starting a new thing.
That's
I came up with that.
The intro.
Yeah, it's actually your next door neighbor's favorite football podcast. But yeah, your next door neighbor. I talked to him before I came in here.
Really?
No.
Okay.
Of course not.
That's actually very confusing.
No, I would never.
You don't even know his name.
I've talked. No, John.
No.
Didn't he move?
I don't know what my next door neighbor's name is.
I have not once seen a person in here that I've came to your house. I don't think.
Really?
Actually, maybe outside I saw some people standing there.
Probably.
But
they like to stand out there and drink all the time.
Yeah,
right there.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're on a podcast right now.
Yes.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Football season is coming up surprisingly fast. I was just thinking about it this week at work, and I got a sudden surge of anxiety because the football season is, if it's it's tomorrow. It's happening tomorrow. No, it's in about 5 weeks, I think. I still looked it up, and I'm still too lazy to count out how many weeks it was on the calendar. But it looks like about 5 weeks from now. The first game is on September 10th, Thursday, I believe. So that's not far from now. And there's still so much I wanted to do before the season starts. So, and I've been kind of putting it off. And now, the football season's right around the corner. And I have to just really grind for a while, not only with the podcast, but with my Instagram post that you guys should check out, _4 weeks and 5 days.
4 weeks and 5 days.
4 weeks? 4 weeks and... Oh, I guess, yeah, because I would have looked it up a couple days ago, and then it would have been 5 weeks.
Yeah.
You forget that a week is 7 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, it's happening, and I got to, get on board with it, because it's probably going to happen. I'm going to assume that the season is going to start. I think it's going to start. I don't know how long it'll go. I don't know if it'll finish. I don't know if there's going to... I almost guarantee there will be games canceled at some point. It's just bound to happen. I mean, we've seen what happened in baseball. Baseball, I believe the Angels, I don't know. I don't watch a whole lot of baseball, but I believe the Angels, they had to cancel a bunch of games, and now they have to play something like 55 games in 51 days, which is insane. Crazy. I mean, it is baseball where you basically don't even have to run, so it's like not that hard.
Careful what
but it's like,
here goes half your fan base.
Baseball roasting. Fans. Yeah. I'm gonna straight up put baseball on blast, man. Ooh. It's the worst of the major sports.
No, you gotta be a pushover until you have followers.
Nope. Sorry, I want only real followers. I don't want no baseball fans following.
I want day ones, real ones.
I want day ones. I want guys who don't like baseball, and gals. Gals can listen to the podcast as well.
They're allowed. Absolutely,
they're allowed. Women empowerment. That's what this episode's about. Feminism.
Feminism.
In sports. No, I'm just kidding. But this week, instead of maybe doing more podcast work and doing more work on my page, I find myself constantly... I have an addiction, I think. I go on YouTube, and I've been watching just I get on the craziest rabbit trails. I don't know if you can relate to this.
Yep.
But it's just insane. And YouTube, I don't know what the recommended videos situation is.
What's the algorithm
going on? Yeah,
that?
What is the algorithm?
Because
I get the craziest. I'm just going to tell you some of the things that I watched just today. I started off... well, there's things like... First I watched a dance video that came up for some reason.
Nice.
Yeah. But I think I started watching that one by accident.
Okay.
And then I watched... You ever see that video where the guy crashes through the roof and he goes, "Hey, Ron."
Yeah.
And, "Hey, Billy."
Hey, Billy.
I watched... It's like a 12-second video. I watched that 17 times at least, and I was laughing over and over again.
I love that.
And then I watched a homeless woman throwing coffee in the face of a barista.
Oh,
so
dear.
That was a news thing. And then I watched just a bunch of random movie clips. There's one called Ratatouille Alternative Ending that I watched. And basically it's just a rat jumping off a building. It's quite funny. Check it out.
YouTube is
YouTube is fantastic, but it's so easy to waste time. It's like, it's just a 2-minute video here, just a 4-minute video here. Just a 10-minute video here, and then
Couple hours
before you know it,
yeah,
you're watching just Lord knows what.
yeah.
I mean,
You're watching Merrill Howard Kalen. That's my favorite thing to watch.
Merrill Howard Kalen.
Side.
Shout goes out to him. But yeah, there's there is football to be talked about, and we'll get to that at some point. Football season's right around the corner. I was not aware how close it was. I mean, I'm excited. And fun fact, if the preseason wasn't canceled, we would actually have football right now. There would be preseason football to potentially talk about. But obviously the preseason was canceled, and we don't have preseason football to talk about. But it gives us more time to, procrastinate a little bit with some of the other things. But yeah, if you haven't yet, make sure you follow the show at _Average Joe Show. Follow Joe at _Joe. What is it? I always forget.
Stop doing this every
He's got to look
episode.
it up. Every episode he has to look it up. I did it at the beginning this time, so you don't have to do it at the end.
Joe _Jason.
Very good. But you're private as well, so
I am private.
You have
Should
to
I make myself unprivate?
It's an exclusive club to follow you. Well, it's really up to you.
Oh no.
Steve Jobs owns all your stuff, right?
Yes.
From the grave.
Yes.
He does. So it doesn't really matter when it comes down to it,
Yeah, you're right.
But this week, I don't know if you know Russell Wilson, Joe.
Yeah, I do.
Russell Wilson, you ever heard of him?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, who is he then, if you've heard of him?
He is a great quarterback.
Really?
And he was the one who... Correct me if I'm wrong.
And I will.
Does he play for the same team that he did like 3 years ago?
Yeah, he's played with the same team his whole career.
Okay, then he's the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Very good.
I remember that because he lost the Super Bowl that one time.
Yeah, to the Patriots. Yeah, that was a devastating day.
When he threw when they should have ran.
Yeah. Look at you. For those of you that don't know, if you're maybe a new listener to the podcast, Joe...
Say my name.
Joe, the producer of the podcast. I'm Joe as well, the host of the podcast. I'm the football guy, but apparently not anymore. But Joe doesn't know a whole lot about football. That's kind of an interesting dynamic as far as the show goes. But now it seems like he's been doing his homework or somehow had this memory in the back of your head about Russell Wilson.
No, the reason the extent of my football knowledge comes from when I was young and I really wanted to impress you. And then I wanted to like football so much.
Wow, that's cute.
But then I realized that I don't need to impress you to have your friendship.
Wow.
So I hate football.
What?
I hate it. I'm just kidding.
Loser. You're a loser for that.
I don't hate it. No.
But speaking of...
I know nothing of it.
You know nothing of it. Well, apparently you know who Russell Wilson is, and that's all that's important for what I'm about to talk about. Because Russell Wilson this week... one thing about Russell Wilson, he's a fantastic quarterback, probably one of, if not the best quarterback in the NFL. It's probably, to me, I'm not going to reveal my top 5 quarterbacks right now. Okay, that's coming later and within the coming weeks. We got the top 5 linebackers today. Make sure you stay tuned for that. But he's definitely a top 5. I'll spoil that. He's in the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. Fantastically talented, one of the best quarterbacks we've seen in the last decade. But he's sort of a weird guy, like just a weird person in general.
Antonio Brown weird?
Yeah, no. He doesn't get into trouble.
Okay.
He does. He seems like a nice guy, certainly, but he's sort of a weirdo. And this week he came out with a video. And Joe, I'd love to show you this, and I'd love to get the audio on the podcast here.
Yeah,
so let's get this going here. So Russell Wilson released a video, and for some reason, he came up with a nickname, alter ego for himself.
Oh no!
And this is the first time you're seeing this, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you've seen this. Let's see if I can get this.
Okay, anytime there's something that happens with like an alter ego, it's just weird.
No, this is bad, and he's like, it's bad. But here we go. You ready for this, Joe?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna let Russell Wilson take over.
All right.
Oh, let me just hit.
Hey guys, Russell here. Yes, the typical boring. Yes, Russell, the robot Russell, the one you guys love to know. Real exciting. Yeah, I'm real excited. But anyways, everybody has to have an alter ego, right? And I've been thinking about what my alter ego would be, and I think I have an alter ego. His name's Mr. Unlimited. Yeah, you gotta be unlimited. You gotta have a thought process of being unlimited. So when people ask you, what you're thinking about or what you want to do in life or where you want to go, you got to be unlimited. Tell them, I'm unlimited. You know what I mean? So when they ask you certain questions like,
who brings you motivation, Russell?
Mr. Unlimited.
That's Sierra, the singer Sierra.
Who's your role model, Russell?
Unlimited.
Who's your go-to person for advice, Russell?
They think Pete Carroll, they think this person, think that person. Love you, Pete, but it's Mr. Unlimited. Tell him.
What?
I don't like that at all.
What is that?
I hated that.
I there's still no explanation behind that video. I don't think, anyways. I haven't seen anything.
High out of his mind.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like, what was that even? Nobody asked for that. Nobody asked for an alter ego. And
did you say everyone needs an alter ego?
Yeah, not really. Everybody doesn't
No.
really need one.
Hardly anyone.
I would say
actually.
basically almost no one needs an
Yes.
alter ego.
Okay, the only thing I can say is that Garth Brooks, when Garth Brooks did Chris Gaines, he made a song, and that song was covered by Childish Gambino.
Oh,
And that was one of God's greatest gifts to this earth.
really?
Yeah. So
What song is that?
it's called Lost in You.
Lost in You.
Yes, Childish Gambino covered
Gambino
it.
by
And
Garth Brooks. By what's that other
by
name?
Garth Brooks, by Chris Gaines.
Chris
Chris
Gaines.
Gaines by Garth Brooks.
Chris Gaines by Garth
I guess you have to start
Brooks.
from the beginning.
Ah,
My goodness, that is
fantastic.
Very
we just
good.
listened to it.
it's beautiful.
Spoiler alert, but
Spoiler
it was
alert.
good. But yeah, Garth Brooks, another person very weird on social media.
Yeah.
I gotta say, like, everybody's talking about the Mr. Unlimited part of that video, and that's obviously the main part of it. And it's like, what the heck does that even mean? It's got to be some sort of ad thing. Like, eventually, I think he's gonna come out and be like, unlimited Sprint wireless or something. Like, I guarantee you, it's got to be like, what the heck was that? But to me, the worst part of the video was at the beginning when he's like, "Hey guys, it's Russell, super robot Russell," or like, "You'd love to know," or what. It was just like the most awkward thing ever. Like, he's trying to be self-deprecating, but it's just, it's so cringy. That's a professional quarterback, and he didn't have to start the video like that too. He could have stopped it and restarted. If I would have started a podcast like that, I would have never. I would have cried a little bit, and then I would have tried again. Like always. That's just
we always do here every Saturday.
every single time. I just gotta listen to the beginning one more time. It's just here it is.
Hey guys, Russell here. Yes, the typical boring, yes, Russell, the robot Russell, the one you guys love to know. Real exciting. Yeah, I'm real exciting. But anyways.
It sounds like he's very nervous.
I know. Why is he so nervous?
Yeah, yes, Russell.
Real exciting. Real robot Russell. Like, everybody always talks about him being like a robot. Like, he's just like, he doesn't do anything interesting ever.
Really?
Like, he's super boring, and he just like,
maybe he's just normal.
maybe he's not anymore. He's not.
Not anymore.
That's definitely not a thing at
That's
this
off
point.
the table now.
Real. What does he say? Real interesting. You love to know. It's just so bad. But thank you, Russell Wilson, for blessing us with that beautiful, beautiful video.
Yes.
And why don't we jump into actual football news and go around the horn and talk about around the horn, talk about some news in the NFL this week. First up in the news, get the air horn ready because we got more COVID-19 news. Woo!
Yeah.
You love it. So obviously the deadline, well, maybe not obviously for some of you, but the deadline this week for players to opt out of the 2020 NFL season due to COVID-19, obviously the pandemic, the deadline for them to opt out was this week, Thursday, I believe. And we have in total 67 players that have decided to sit out of the NFL season.
How many was it last time? 32? 34?
It was
36?
Well, I could look in my notes. I think it was 34. Yeah, here it is. 34 players it was last week.
Wow.
So we had
almost doubled it.
Yeah, we literally almost doubled it. One away from doubling it, if my math is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had a lot more people, but not terribly huge names, which is good for the NFL and for NFL fans. We had some of the key players that opted out were guys like Denver tackle Jawan James, who signed a huge free agent contract last year, was injured almost the entire year for them, and then is going to opt out this year and not play a single snap. So that's definitely disappointing. I saw a lot of Denver Broncos fans not all that happy about that. And you had the Miami Dolphins had 2 wide receivers opt out, Albert Wilson and Alan Hearns. Not huge wide receivers. Not like they weren't starters, but they could have been potential slot guys. Probably the two top candidates to be the slot guy there in Miami. So they lost 2 receivers. Another receiver, Josh Doxson, for the New York Jets, who's been sort of a bust. He decided to opt out, but it kind of hurts the Jets as they don't have a whole lot of talent there at the wide receiver position. At the offensive side of the ball in general, they don't have a whole lot of talent, so they really can take anything that they could get at this point. And they also lost C.J. Mosley a few days after we recorded the last podcast. C.J. Mosley opted out. It's another guy, a free agent signing last year, who was injured almost the entire year, and now he's going to take this year off as well. I shouldn't say, well, he is taking it off. He is taking it off. I understand why he's doing it, and I don't blame these players for doing it, but they're taking it off.
Like, why? What's the reason?
Well, some of them
is it a fear of, I guess,
contracting?
Contracting.
Yeah, very
contracting.
Good.
Yeah,
contracting.
Getting it.
Getting the virus. Some of them, it's like there's a bunch of different reasons. Some of them are they're fear of contracting it. Some of them have more higher risk family members they don't want to infect. Okay. Some of them. Some of them are high risk as well. So like the NFL is full of overweight men, especially offensive linemen and defensive linemen. A lot of them are overweight, and people who are overweight have a higher risk as far as the virus goes. So honestly, 67 is not as many as I thought, especially linemen. There wasn't nearly as many linemen opting out. We also had another New England Patriot, or a couple more New England Patriots opting out. Marquise Lee, another guy, opted out a few days after recording the last podcast. So he was a free agent signing this year, sort of later into the offseason. Again, the Patriots don't have a whole lot of talent at the wide receiver position. They don't have a whole lot of talent on offense, on the team, really. They're sort of a talent-poor team. And they've lost now the most out of any team. They've lost 8 total players to opt-outs, which is, and they're, not all of them are huge, big-name players, but some of them are. It's gonna be tough for this New England Patriots team. But of course, they have Bill Belichick, so they'll probably still go 11-5 and be in the AFC Championship game and crush millions and millions of hearts like usual.
Oh.
Sticking with COVID, the NFL also changed the deadline to promote practice squad players to 90 minutes before the game starts. So it used to be, so basically you have a roster, you have 53 guys on a roster, and you have a practice squad made up of however many players. I believe it's 10, something like that. But you have a practice squad. Basically, you keep guys that they're technically on the team, but they're not really. They're only practice players, and you can promote them. And it used to be like if you promote them to the active roster, they have to be promoted the day before the game at 4 p.m. But now you can do it 90 minutes before the game.
Wow!
So they updated that for COVID, I guess, just in case all of a sudden somebody has the virus, then you can just have a quick replacement. This is something that the virus. Obviously, it's going to throw a huge wrench, and it already has thrown a huge wrench in everything sports-related and just life-related in general. But one of the biggest questions about this upcoming season and COVID-19 is what happens. So in football, you have certain positions you have certain coaches for these positions. You have an offensive line coach who'll coach the offensive line. You have a wide receivers coach that'll coach the wide receivers. And they often have their own rooms where they're in and all that. So what if one of your offensive linemen ends up getting COVID-19 and then he doesn't know right away, so he gets tested, but obviously it takes a while for you to know that you have COVID. So he goes to practice, he goes to the meetings, and he's within contact with all the rest of your offensive linemen. All of a sudden, come game day, everybody's tests get back, and they all have COVID. And it's like, now you're going to play your entire game without any offensive linemen. How is that going to go down? And that's a huge hurdle that I think the NFL is going to have to get over. It's almost like I don't like this pandemic. I'm kind of tired.
Almost like it's not fun.
It's almost like it's a bad thing for us to have. I'm sick and tired of it, But that's definitely a thing to watch if that all of a sudden happens. That's why I think there's almost a guarantee that some games will be canceled at some point. I think that we will start the season on time. I don't see why it wouldn't. But I don't think there'll be fans probably at any point this season. And at some point, I think that we're going to have games canceled or weeks canceled. I hope not, but, hope only gets you so much. Next up in the news, we have this is something that I don't even really know why I include this in the news. Usually I would not even include something like this in the news. But Marquise Hollywood Brown, the wide receiver for the Baltimore Ravens, he was a rookie last year. Impressed at times, but struggled with injuries. Very small man overall. Marquise Brown announced that he didn't announce it. It wasn't like he didn't have a press conference about it, but he basically came out and said that he gained 23 pounds over the offseason, and he's now 180 pounds.
Wow.
Last year he was playing at 157 pounds. That's insane.
Very small.
It's not really breaking news or anything big, but I just wanted to bring that up on the podcast. That's absurd. How much, Joe, if you don't mind me asking?
I am 180 pounds.
You're 180 pounds?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. So there's somebody in the NFL, and he's a wide receiver, so,
Marquise Brown. Who does he play for?
He plays for the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, this is Antonio Brown's cousin.
Antonio Brown's cousin. Very good.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you. You guys are giving me treats every time I get something.
Yeah, I started throwing you Scooby snacks. So Marquise Hollywood Brown, he's listed on Pro Football Reference as 170 pounds, but obviously he's 180 now is what he said. And apparently he was playing at 157 at some points last year. But he's also 5'9", but that's probably the same.
Yeah, that's
he's the same measurements as you, essentially.
He's like,
wow. So you're 180 pounds.
Yeah, so he weighs as much as me now. So it's like me playing professional football.
Wow. If only you were...
I'm way less athletic, I'm
sure. We don't know that.
We don't know you're right. We don't.
We would have to invite him on the podcast, I think.
Yeah.
We wanted to find that out. Marquise, Hollywood, come on the podcast and race Joe.
My tiny apartment.
Yeah, in this apartment. We're going to find somewhere to... You're going to do a race, an arm wrestle, and just a wrestle.
Yeah, I was going to say a wrestle.
Just an old-fashioned wrestle. Because it's like, he's probably strong, but does he have that drive that you do?
I don't know.
No,
probably not.
It's crazy. You're 5'9" and you're 180 pounds.
I might be 5'10".
I'm 6'3". I'm 170 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing almost to say that on the podcast.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I'm just a skinny boy. I mean, not to say that you're not skinny. You look just like Marquise Brown.
Oh.
You're ripped, actually. Yeah, but anyways, like I said, not breaking news. I just wanted to, kind of get your reaction to the fact that there's a person in the NFL that was playing at 5'9", 157 pounds. I believe there's a player too. A few years back, he played in the CFL and he played on the Washington football team as well. His name was Brandon Banks. Let me look him up real quick. He was
Cody Banks?
Yeah, Cody Banks' brother Brandon. No. He was a wide receiver. He played in CFL. He's 5'7".
Wow, it's even shorter.
150 pounds. 150 pounds.
That's like a child.
Yeah, literally a child. There are many children in the Little League World Series that are much bigger than that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just crazy. Good for him. As long as you're fast, you can really do whatever the heck you want. You can really weigh whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? Next up in the news, speaking of the Washington football franchise, Darius Geis, the third year running back he would have been going into the season, has been released by the Washington football team this week. It happened just so fast. There was a report on my phone at some point that he had been arrested for domestic violence. And then just a few minutes later, the Washington football team comes out and says that Darius Geis has been released. Obviously, this is very disappointing for a player that had a ton of potential, but I love to see it. I mean, I don't understand. I've never understood why domestic violence is such a problem among athletes, just athletes in general, not even football players. How hard is it to not hit a woman or a person in general? I don't never once in my life, and to be fair, I don't live a life the same way that a professional football player would live it. And obviously a lot of these guys come from very different backgrounds than I do. Maybe not as privileged as I was, but I've never once has it even crossed my mind to strike a woman or really even hit a person in general. It baffles me that so many professional athletes, you have it all, and you decide to hit women. It's insane. Like I said, never once. I've been in arguments with women before. I've been in disagreements with women. Never once has it even began to cross my mind to strike a woman. And this is good. It's good to see a team take a stand against domestic violence and just outright cut a guy. Not that Darius Geis is really all that fantastic of a player. He hasn't really lived up to what the potential he had coming into college. I remember him at LSU being the backup to Leonard Fournette. He was really a beast. And then the next year when Leonard Fournette was gone, he was a fantastic player. Darius, and he was drafted in the second round, I believe, by the Washington football team. And then he tore his ACL his very first season, so missed his entire football season in the first season. And then overall in his career, he played his first full season last year. He had 42 carries for 245 yards and 2 touchdowns. So not all that productive. Obviously, Adrian Peterson was there taking the bulk of the carries, and that'll probably continue to happen this year as the Washington team has Adrian Peterson, Bryce Love, and Antonio Gibson right now at the running back position. So 2 rookies and the absolute opposite of a rookie, Adrian Peterson, who's been there, been in the NFL for, it feels like 40 years. He's been there for so long, and he continues to just somehow rush for 1,000 yards. So obviously disappointing that a young player like that got into trouble again, but it's going to happen again, and it's not the first time, and it's not the last time. Speaking of players getting in trouble, DeAndre Baker, who we talked about probably a few weeks ago already, him and Quinton Dunbar, 2 cornerbacks in the NFL. DeAndre Baker, 22 years old, drafted just a couple years ago by the New York Giants. He was accused of robbery from stealing cash and watches from 4 men at a house party.
Why?
Which seems absurd to me.
He had already played football previously to that.
Yeah.
So it's not like
he needed it, right?
I'm gonna say,
right?
Okay.
Like he was a first round pick. He was making good money.
Go buy yourself your own watch.
I know. Again, how hard is it to not
do
dumb bad things? It's like you have all this money. You have everything, like everything, and now this week he was actually charged with robbery. So if he's convicted, he could face up to 10 years in prison.
Oh my god.
10 years in prison.
That's
you were just an NFL player, man. You had it all. You're young. I mean, you're athletic. You have it all, and you just decided to steal watches from guys. I just can't even begin to understand DeAndre Baker. And Quinton Dunbar ended up, the charges were dropped. There was not enough evidence, so he's apparently going to get out of it without any problems. But yeah, DeAndre Baker, very disappointing to see another young NFL player get into trouble off the field. On to the final piece of news, a little bit more encouraging news. This happened a while ago already, but it happened after we recorded last week's episode. But Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Dwayne Dron Johnson.
The guy, probably the most successful person in the history of the world. Really, it basically goes Jesus Christ, and then it goes Dwayne Johnson. Right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, you might be right.
I might be right. I didn't put him ahead of Jesus, so it's not blasphemous. That's essentially the list there. Jesus and The Rock. He did something amazing again this week. He saved my precious XFL. Woo. Yes. Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you, The Rock. Dwayne, middle name The Rock Johnson. Nice. Thank you very much. He bought it. Him and some other people. I don't know. Who cares? Dwayne Johnson is the main person. Let's talk about Dwayne Johnson. Bought it for $15 million, which seems fairly cheap.
Dude, but people get paid way more than that in the NFL.
That's what I'm saying. If the NFL would sell for probably hundreds of billions of dollars. Billions. But the XFL was a bankrupt football league, so probably not the same as far as the comparison goes.
Yeah, well.
But he bought the XFL, and he plans to actually run a football organization, which is fantastic. I love the XFL when it was here. It's too bad that COVID ruined that along with everything else. I was a big fan of the Houston Roughnecks. That was my team, man. They were undefeated. I picked them before the season even started. And ended up being undefeated, best team. They're going to win the whole thing, win the chip. And then COVID-19 came and just destroyed everybody's lives. And now The Rock has to come and save us from COVID-19, just like he saved us from that giant mutant ape in that one movie. What's it called?
Rampage.
Rampage.
What?
George. I just thought it was like the monkey has a name, probably, right? And I thought
Were you thinking of Curious George?
No, I was not thinking of Curious George.
He was also.
This is not the sequel to Curious George. Are you sure?
And just how he saved all those people from that San Andreas earthquake.
Yeah, San Andreas earthquake. He saved all those people from that safe that those people were pulling in Fast and the Furious. That one too. He saved people from that. He saved the girl from Corey in the House from not having a dad in the movie The Game Plan as well. So he just continues to save people, and he saved us. And Joe, the XFL's back, and in honor of that, we're going to go back to the new segment that we debuted just 2 weeks ago. You guys know what time it is. What does Joe know? For those of you that don't know, like we talked about earlier, the producer Joe here, he doesn't know a whole lot about sports and about football especially, so we test his limited football knowledge, and the only rule is I myself, Joe, the host of the show, I have to be able to answer the question without problem. Very easily answer the question. I could easily answer the question, and we did this with the CFL teams. You had to pick out which CFL team was fake. You better not be looking up the XFL teams right now. I see you on your laptop.
I'm literally not.
It sure looks like you are.
Wait, how do you spell XFL?
He's very good. Very good.
Joking.
So the XFL,
Joking.
Can you guess how many teams there were in the XFL? Let's do this.
17.
Ooh, nope.
Not as much?
Not that much. That's too high.
More. Okay, give me just more or less than the CFL.
Yes.
Less?
Yes.
12.
No.
13.
No.
8.
8. Yeah.
Nice.
The same. That's why I said
First
yes.
try.
Yeah. Well, actually, the CFL is 9. Shoot. Forgot about that. But I have 9 names here, and I've already said one of them. I said my favorite team name, so hopefully you were listening.
The Houston Rednecks.
Close enough. Very good. Very good. I have 9 teams here.
Okay.
Basically, all you have to do to be the winner of today's podcast and win the illustrious prize that has yet to be announced is pick out the fake team name. And Joe, I have not a whole lot of confidence in you in this episode. Can you name, other than the Houston team can you name any XFL teams?
The Charlotte Honey Badgers.
No. That would be dope, though.
That would be cool. Honey Badgers.
Honey Badgers?
Wait, wasn't that a CFL team?
No. Honey Badger was a nickname of safety.
Oh.
Tyrann Mathieu.
Never mind that.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you 9 names here. You have to pick out which team is the fake team name. I gave you one. So just like I did with the CFL one. Here we go.
Yes.
First up, we have the Dallas Renegades.
Like the TikTok dance?
Renegade. Just like that. They were named after Charlie D'Amelio.
Perfect.
Yeah. So next up, we have the Houston Roughnecks.
False.
Next up, the Los Angeles Wildcats. Then we have the Seattle Dragons, the Oklahoma City Bulls, the DC Defenders, the New York Guardians, the St. Louis Battlehawks. He's crying, ladies and gentlemen. And the Tampa Bay Vipers. You want me to say those again? Run that by you again?
Yes, I already have 2 that I think are...
Okay. Well, yeah, why don't we just do process elimination here?
Process elimination.
Elimination. So the Dallas Renegades.
Okay.
The Houston Roughnecks.
Okay.
The Los Angeles Wildcats. The Seattle Dragons.
Okay, it's one of those.
It's one of what?
It's either the Seattle Dragons or the The Wildcats.
The Los Angeles Wildcats?
Yeah.
You're confident that you want to just eliminate all the rest of the teams?
Yep.
100%. You
Actually, no.
Okay.
I did this in the last episode. No.
Okay.
Please tell me
You want me to say the rest?
Well. Yes.
Okay, so we just ended with Seattle Dragons.
Okay.
Next up, we have Oklahoma City Bulls,
Okay.
the DC Defenders,
Okay.
the New York Guardians, the St. Louis Battlehawks,
Okay.
and the Tampa Bay Vipers. No pressure, man, but do you want to win the podcast or not?
I do. I really do.
It would be the first time in history you've won the podcast. All the other times, by the way, I'm the winner of the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
My final answer. Oh, okay. Oh, son of a gun.
Would you like to use a lifeline?
Yeah. Can I call my dad?
Yeah, your dad. I'm sure your dad knows exactly all the XFL teams.
Okay. I don't want to sound ignorant, but I'm gonna say that the Los Angeles Wildcats is a fake team.
That's your final answer.
Final
Lock
answer.
it in. The Los Angeles Wildcats.
Final answer.
Joe, you are 100% incorrect.
No,
You
it's
loser.
the Dragon. It's the Dragon.
It's not the Dragons either.
Why the hell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep guessing. Do it.
No.
Yeah.
I feel like a loser already.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. I felt bad
Okay.
when you locked it down to those two teams. I really did. I felt really
because
bad.
the Wildcats, that's just straight out
Doesn't
of High School Musical.
Yeah, it
Like
is.
you're trying to pull my leg
Troy
here.
Bolton was the quarterback of the team,
Oh,
actually.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Fine. Then it's the Renegades.
Renegades? No.
All right. Then just tell me what.
It's actually the Oklahoma City Bulls.
I figured the Bulls.
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 Yeah, what a dumb name.
That is Bull.
I came up with that. So, yeah. Sorry about your luck, but
Dang.
I'm once again the winner of the podcast. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was What Does Joe Know? Jumping right in to the next edition of my top 5 position rankings for the 2020 NFL season. This week it's the linebackers, and before we start, I've got to say, like I was talking about earlier in the episode, the NFL season is coming up very soon, a lot sooner than I thought it was. So we're gonna have to run through these top 5s a lot quicker than I thought I would. It seems like we've been doing it for my entire life. But we have a few more to go. We're going to combine a couple. I believe next week we're going to do the top 5 receivers in the NFL, and then we're going to combine a couple and do the top 5 interior defensive linemen, as well as the top 5 edge rushers of the 2020 NFL season. And then to finish it off, we're going to do the top 5 quarterbacks for the 2020 NFL season. The big one, the one that everybody cares about, the one that people are going to hate on me the most for probably, is the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. So make sure you tune into that a few weeks from now. But today it's the top 5 linebackers in the NFL. We're sticking on the defensive side of the football. I'm going to give you my top 5. Let's just jump straight into number 5. Coming in at number 5, it is Levante David for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's a guy who's been in the NFL for 8 seasons. Been a stud for 8 seasons. I mean, the guy just continues to produce every single year. And fun fact, he's been so good his entire season, or all of his seasons, not just this season, but throughout his 8-year career, he's only had 1 Pro Bowl appearance and 1 All-Pro appearance, which seems absurd. Also, on Pro Football Reference, one of his nicknames is Lolo. So his name is Levante David. I don't know where they got Lolo from. Must be an inside joke that I don't understand, but that's fine. His 2019 stats, the guy, like I said, he's consistent. He consistently is good. He had 123 combined tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 7 passes defensed, and 1 interception with 3 forced fumbles, 63.3 completion percentage on 90 targets, and 0 passing touchdowns allowed. And that is what Levante David excels at. He's good all across the board, really. He's just a solid linebacker in the run game as well as coverage. Not so much a pass rusher. That's just not what he is. He's a coverage and run-stopping linebacker, and he's been that his entire career, and he's been doing very well at that his entire career. But Pro Football Focus ranked him as the number 1 linebacker in coverage in the 2019 NFL season. The guy is phenomenal. Like I said, he had a 63.3 completion percentage on 90 targets, which 90 targets is a lot for a linebacker. And 63.3% on that. There are some defensive backs who on 90 targets don't have nearly that good a completion percentage on them. So that's phenomenal by Lavonte David. And since coming into the league, he's been solid all across the board. The only people who has more tackles than Lavonte David since coming into the NFL is Luke Kuechly and Bobby Wagner. That's pretty good company. Luke Kuechly obviously retired this last offseason, and Bobby Wagner, spoiler alert, is coming up next, or not next, but later on in the top 5, my top 5 linebackers. But yeah, he's a guy he's an ass kicker. He's going to go out and he's going to just be a fantastic leader on the defense. And he's playing on a very talented and underrated defense. I talked about a few weeks back already, my most underrated on a mailbag episode. I talked about who my most underrated defense for the 2020 NFL season is, and I said that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to me have the most underrated defense going into the 2020 NFL season. They have a ton of talent, a ton of young talent, and him playing alongside Devin White, who's I think is going to develop into a phenomenal linebacker, might end up on this list one of these years. But the guy that he's playing alongside Devin White is someone that I think will complement him. And Lavonte David has shown no signs of slowing down throughout his 8-year career, and I expect him to be dominant and continue to be underrated through 2020 and however long he decides to play. Coming in at number 4 on the top 5 linebackers of the 2020 NFL season, and it's Demario Davis, the linebacker for the New Orleans Saints. And fun fact about Demario Davis, he has a brother named DeLuigi.
What?
No,
Really?
That's so stupid. He doesn't. No, I came
Oh
up with
my,
that was a dumb joke.
You sucker.
A stupid joke, actually. I have, when I do these fun facts, I just do like a little thing underneath their names to remind me of it, and I just have DeLuigi, and then in brackets, stupid. So,
It is, and I fell for it.
Yeah, you did fall
Like a
for it.
dummy.
So you're stupid. You're not only the loser of the podcast, but you're stupid.
Stupid
You
loser.
stupid loser.
Dang.
But Demario Davis is not a stupid loser. The guy was the number 1 ranked linebacker by Pro Football Focus this last season. He's a much different player than obviously Lavonte David. He's a Sam linebacker. He had his 2019 stats. He was an All-Pro during the 2019 NFL season. Not a Pro Bowler, which shows again how stupid the Pro Bowl is. The guy who makes an All-Pro team is not in the Pro Bowl. But his 2019 stats, he had 111 combined tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 12 passes defense, and an interception. I mean, those stats for a linebacker are pretty phenomenal. He obviously was good enough to be an All-Pro. His Pro Football grades, he has an 82.5 in the run game, an 82.5 as well in the as far as a pass rusher, and his coverage grade is 4th best in the NFL at 88.3. He's a guy who he just makes plays all over the field. I mean, we saw that when with his stats, he's got 4 sacks, 12 passes defense, and 1 interception. I mean, that he's just all over the place. He can wreak havoc in the backfield. He's a guy who's brought on blitzes a lot. He was brought on blitzes 104 times in 2019, whereas the guys above him on this list were brought on blitzes 53, 60, and 71 times. So not even close to the 104 times that he was brought on a blitz. So he's a guy who can explode a play in the backfield as well as make plays in the pass game. He's a fantastic coverage linebacker. He really doesn't have much weakness to his game if he continues to play at the level he plays at now. And he was probably one of, if not the best linebackers in the NFL last season. And really one of the main reasons I don't have him higher on my list is just purely age. He's 31 already. That's not young for a linebacker, but he's a fantastic player. Plays on a very underrated defense. Again, I really like the New Orleans Saints defense. They have a lot of potential there. I like their pass rushers. I like some of the components that they have in their secondary. I think that they could be an underrated bunch this upcoming year. But New Orleans, I expect them to be really good this upcoming season. And Lavonte David is a big part of that. And he's a guy who's never missed a snap during his 8-year career. Now, during his rookie season, he was more of a special teams player, but he still played in 16 games for the New York Jets. He's played 8 seasons across 3 teams. He hasn't missed a single game in 8 years. That's phenomenal. He's a guy who's just going to be out there every single game for a season and just wreak havoc and be the leader of a defense. Coming in at number 3, another guy who had a breakout season in 2019. It's Eric Kendricks, the linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings. He was the number 2 ranked linebacker by Pro Football Focus during the 2019 NFL season. And fun fact about Eric Kendricks, he's the only active NFL player with a birthday on Leap Day. Yeah, wow. Leap Day.
That's the 25th.
February 29.
Whoa, why did I say 25th?
25th. Wow, Joe. Yikes. This is a rough podcast for you.
I'm really...
Yeah. February 25th. Leap Day. No, February 29th. So he's 28, but really he's probably like, what is it, every 4 years? What's 28 divided by 4? That would be
8. No, 7.
7, right? Yeah, 740. Yeah, 7. That's a very easy one. It's football, 7. So he's technically 7 years old. So a lot of potential. He can really, improve as an 8-year-old in the upcoming season. He's played 5 seasons in the NFL. He's a one-time Pro Bowler, one-time All-Pro. The both were last season. And during last season, he had 110 combined tackles, 12 passes defense. And Pro Football Focus actually said that 12 passes defense, and this is them ranking it, so you can get rankings from different sites, but Pro Football Focus said that 12 passes defense was the most they've ever recorded at the linebacker position in the history of Pro Football Focus. So that's pretty good. He also had 2 forced fumbles and a 53.3 completion percentage when he was targeted, which was 60 times. That's phenomenal. I mean, obviously he wasn't targeted as much as Demario Davis, who had 90 targets, but 60 targets. He had 53.3 completion percentage. And this guy, he is a little different than some of the other guys on this list. He's not as much a pass rusher. He's not going to make plays, maybe sacking the quarterback, not going to make as many plays in the backfield. But he's probably one of, if not the best coverage linebackers in the NFL. And he could be hitting his prime right now. He's got an 88.4 coverage grade, which is 3rd best by Pro Football Focus. He's a perfect linebacker to have in today's game. He had a phenomenal season last year, and I expect him to only get better as the years go on. Eric Kendricks is my number 3 linebacker in the NFL. Coming in at number 2 on my top 5 linebackers for the 2020 NFL season, and it's Darius Leonard for the Indianapolis Colts. And fun fact about Darius Leonard, he's one of 9 children to a single mom.
Wow.
Yeah, and 2 of his brothers are sentenced to life in prison for murder.
Oh, that's sad.
These fun facts are getting less and less fun. Yeah, so I maybe shouldn't have included that part, but yeah, that's crazy. 9 children to a single mom. Wow, that's insane. Darius Leonard, he's played 2 seasons in the NFL. He's got one-time Pro Bowler, one-time All-Pro. Not in the same season, which is absurd. He was an All-Pro during his rookie season, didn't make the Pro Bowl, which again, the Pro Bowl is pointless and dumb, and it's not an All-Star game. So why did they even play it? But during the 2019 season, he had actually a worse year than he did during his rookie season, but still a very, very good year. He had 13 games, so he missed 3 games this season. He had 120 combined tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 7 passes defense, and 5 interceptions, including 1 brought back for a touchdown. The guy is just an absolute playmaker, and he's been that since he got in the NFL. He's really been, since his rookie season 2 years ago, he's been a top 5 linebacker in the NFL. He came out of nowhere, and I think people are starting to recognize who he is, starting to recognize his name. And don't sleep on Darius Leonard, because he's my number 2 linebacker this upcoming season. He's just a huge playmaker. He makes plays. He's got 284 total tackles in 2 seasons, along with 12 sacks in his 2 seasons, 6 forced fumbles, 19 tackles for loss, and 7 interceptions in 2 seasons. Those are absolutely insane numbers. I mean, he's just going to make plays all across the board. Again, he's a guy who just doesn't have much weakness, and he's so young. He's only 25. He's got so much potential. And and that's why he ranks in at number 2 on my top 5 linebackers for the 2020 NFL season. Coming in at number 1 on my top 5 linebackers for the 2020 NFL season, and it's old reliable Bobby Wagner coming in at number 1. He's the linebacker for the Seattle Seahawks. He's been the leader of that defense since the Legion of Boom days. And fun fact about Bobby Wagner, Joe, he doesn't like mushrooms. He was quoted as saying, "I refuse to eat mushrooms. Never. It makes me feel funny after."
Like magic mushrooms?
Maybe. That would be included in mushrooms, right? I think he's just talking about the food mushrooms. But
they make me feel weird.
They make me feel... Yeah, maybe he is eating the wrong mushrooms. I didn't think about that. Bobby.
Not all mushrooms are supposed to be.
Not all mushrooms are created equal. Some are for fun and some are for food. You know what I'm saying? Bobby, maybe you got to eat the right mushrooms. But I tell you, he's definitely not on mushrooms when he's playing, because in 8 seasons, the guy's been a 6-time Pro Bowler and a 5-time All-Pro. I love that I knocked the Pro Bowl and I continue to use it as a gauge for how good a player is, even though I shouldn't do that. But he's a 5-time All-Pro, which is phenomenal. He's been completely just probably definitely a top 2 linebacker since he's been in the NFL. It's kind of been him and Luke Kuechly, and obviously Luke Kuechly retired this previous offseason. In 2019, he had 159 total tackles, which is the best in the NFL. He had 7 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 1 interception. He's really just, again, another guy who's phenomenal all across the board. He's a modern day linebacker. He can stop the run. He can rush the passer. He's pretty good in coverage. Obviously, as he gets older and slower, and you know, just in general, when we get older, we get slower. He's not going to be as good in coverage. So his coverage numbers have gone down a little bit, but he's still an above average linebacker in coverage, and he's just the leader of that defense. He's been one of the best linebackers in the NFL for years. He was the leader of some of the best defenses in the history of the NFL. If you go back to the Legion of Boom days when it was him, Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, Bruce Irvin, who's back there again, Michael Bennett, all those guys during the Legion of Boom days when they won that Super Bowl, the one that Joe was talking about earlier on the podcast. Actually, no, that you were talking about the one that they lost. They won the year. They won the Super Bowl the year before that. They decimated Peyton Manning's Broncos. That was another heartbreaking Super Bowl for me, as I love Peyton Manning. But he's a like I said, Bobby Wagner, to me, he's obviously the best linebacker in the NFL. He's only missed 9 games in 8 seasons, which is phenomenal. And Luke Kuechly, we've talked about a couple times, is the only player with more tackles in the last 10 years than Bobby Wagner. And he's really keeping that defense together, as far as a lot of players have left the Legion of Boom, like we've talked about. But Bobby Wagner is still there, and he's still holding down the fort, and he's still my number 1 linebacker in the NFL going into the 2020 NFL season. So once again, we've gotten to the end of another episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. And before we go, Joe, I'm just going to ask, do you have anything to recommend to the audience as far as music, content, anything? They're dying to know. They've been hitting me out. They're like, Joe, we need content from Joe.
Music content?
Anything.
Like music songs?
What are you listening? Music songs or other songs? Any sort of content that you're enjoying right now? Anything that you would like to pass along to our lovely listeners?
Actually, an artist that I've been listening to. This is just a quick one. Just one artist that a friend of mine showed me. Her name is Liana LaHavas.
Liana LaHavas.
Liana LaHavas.
Oh.
LaHavas.
What kind of music does she make?
Like R&B.
Of course.
Music. Yeah. It's good. It's really good, chill music. I was listening to it today while I was cleaning my house.
Very good.
My apartment building.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it's very sweet and nice.
There you go. Liana LaHavas.
Liana LaHavas.
Was that her name? All right. Yeah. We'll try to get her on the show next week. See what we can do. So once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode. If you haven't yet, please follow us on social media at _Average Joe Show. Follow Joe on Instagram as well.
Joe_Thiessen.
Joe_Thiessen, Thiessen.
Yeah.
Thiessen. Yeah, please do that. And if you're listening to whatever you're listening to this podcast on, whether it be Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you give us a rating. Make sure you give us a review. We would really much appreciate it. Reviews and ratings are huge as far as spreading the podcast around. And hey, you have friends that like football or they like listening to two white boys talk about random stuff that sometimes is football in a room, make sure you recommend our podcast to them because we'd love to build our audience. But thank you once again for tuning in, and we will catch you guys on the next one.